She was described as kind, hardworking, the nurse who always volunteered for extra shifts. She took salsa dance classes. She sent Christmas cards to families on the ward. Then babies started dying, 7 confirmed, possibly more. And the question the entire world is now asking, did justice convict the right person, or the most convenient one? Lucy Lebby was born in 1990 in Hereford, England. She trained as a neonatal nurse, someone whose entire job is keeping the most fragile lives in the world alive. By 2012, she was working at the Countess of Chester Hospital. Colleagues liked her. Parents trusted her. Management gave her glowing reviews. Nobody looked twice, not at first. The neonatal unit at Chester Hospital was already under pressure. It was admitting babies far sicker than its staffing and resources could handle. Understaffed, underfunded, stretched. When infant mortality began climbing in 2015, the first instinct wasn't to look inward. It was to look at the nurse who kept showing up. Between June 2015 and June 2016, the unit recorded an unusual cluster of infant deaths and collapses. Doctors began tracking the incidents. They cross-referenced shifts, dates, and staff rosters. One name appeared at nearly every single event: Lucy Letby. Doctors raised the alarm, repeatedly, formally, in writing. They demanded Letby be removed from the ward immediately. While the deaths were investigated, hospital management refused. They reportedly forced the doctors, the ones raising concerns about dead babies, to sit down and personally apologize to Letby. Senior executives now face criminal charges for that decision. Letby was finally arrested in 2018, 2 years later. Formally charged: 7 counts of murder, 15 counts of attempted murder, 17 babies in total. When police searched her home, they found handwritten notes. One reportedly read, "I am evil. I did this." The prosecution called it a confession. The defense said it was the writing of a distressed, innocent woman. The trial began in 2022. It lasted 10 months. One of the longest and most complex criminal proceedings in British legal history. The prosecution argued Letby used 3 methods: injecting air into bloodstreams, poisoning with insulin, and force-feeding milk to kill and harm babies in her care. No one witnessed any of it. In August 2023, Lucy Letby was found guilty. 7 murders, 7 attempted murders. A retrial in 2024 added 1 more attempted murder conviction. 15 whole life sentences. She will die in prison unless those convictions are overturned. She refused to appear at sentencing. The judge called it cowardice. Then, the cracks started showing. No forensic evidence, no eyewitness, no camera footage. A BBC journalist who led an investigative podcast on the case said it plainly. No one ever saw Letby commit a crime. The entire prosecution rested on her presence. To blood test results, disputed medical records, and handwritten notes she says were written in despair, not guilt. The prosecution star expert built his case around a 1989 research paper on air embolisms in newborns. The author of that paper, Dr. Shuley, was never called to testify. He learned his research had been used only after the conviction. He stated publicly it had been fundamentally misapplied. His paper described one condition. The prosecution alleged an entirely different mechanism. In February 2025, Dr. Shuley led an international panel of 14 medical experts from 6 countries. Together, they reviewed every single case from the trial, all 17. Their conclusion: no evidence of deliberate harm in any of them. Every death, every collapse, attributed to natural causes or to failures in hospital care, not to Lucy Letby. There is another layer to this story that rarely gets discussed. At trial, Letby's own defense team chose not to call a single expert medical witness to the stand. They had worked with experts in preparation, then didn't use them. Legal analysts say this decision alone may have been enough to seal her fate. Regardless of the actual evidence, legal scholars are drawing one comparison more than any other. Sally Clark. In 1999, Clark was convicted of murdering her two infant sons. The case rested on flawed statistical evidence and misapplied medical expert testimony. She was exonerated, but she never recovered. The structure of that case and the Leppi case are almost identical. That is not a small observation. The Countess of Chester Hospital was taking on premature and critically ill babies it didn't have the staff or equipment to treat properly. The mortality rate was rising before Leppi was even a suspect. 3 former senior executives, the CEO, medical director, and director of nursing, have now been arrested for gross negligence manslaughter. The hospital is not just a backdrop, it may be the actual story. As of 2026, the Criminal Cases Review Commission is formally reviewing her convictions. The senior cross-party MPs have demanded the process be fast-tracked. Netflix released a documentary in February 2026. One of the original accusing doctors admitted on camera to feeling tiny guilt that the wrong person may have been convicted. The case has never been more open to possibilities. Both are terrifying. Either Lucy Leppi is a calculated killer who murdered 7 newborns and nearly killed more, hiding behind a kind face and an extra shift, or an innocent woman is serving 15 whole life sentences for deaths caused by a failing hospital that needed someone to blame. The CCRC will decide. But right now, what do you think?